Today I wanted to talk about the running backs at the University of Alabama and talk about them in the capacity of the position previews that we've been doing. Yesterday we did the wide receiver group, and it was our first time looking at the Alabama Crimson Tide offense in a way too early position preview. And with that being said, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. And in the other videos I've done, all the questions have centered around, will some of these young freshman guys make the lineup? Will they contribute? And so I want to stick to that theme. And Kamar Wheaton was one of the highest rated recruits of Alabama's history-making class last year. With that in mind, do you think that he's able to crack the running back rotation and get reps as a freshman? Give me a Y for yes, an N for no, and let me know why or why not you believe that. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification because I do constant college football content, player reviews, film analysis, talk style videos like this, and I'm on my push to 5,000 subscribers in my first year, and I'd love to have you along for the journey. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like and comment down below because that really does go a long ways in helping content creators like myself get picked up by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, let's talk about the running back room. And this is kind of a difficult room to talk about because of the major names returning and the talent within the room. It's a little bit like the receiving room, but the difficult thing about the receiving room as opposed to the running back room is you can put multiple receivers out on the field at the same time. Now, you can do that with running backs as well, but you get my point, right? You can see up to 3 to 4 different wide receivers on the field at the same time, giving you multiple different looks, giving you the ability to really spread the ball around. And even though I believe that the Alabama Crimson Tide will have a running back by committee with the loss of Najee Harris to the NFL draft, and what a running back he was for the Crimson Tide, I've always said he really reminds me of a combination of like a Le'Veon when you look at his power, when you look at his patience, but mixed with Alvin Kamara and his ability to be incredibly slippery and maybe the best balance I've seen from a running back in his size. Absolutely incredible. But the Crimson Tide is not devoid of talent at the position with the exodus of Najee Harris. In fact, far from it. The Crimson Tide may actually find the opposite problem. Instead of having not enough talent, they may have too much. And let's go down this list and talk about it. And I want to start off this list by giving the 2 different scenarios for one particular player, and that is Trey Sanders. Trey Sanders recovering from his incident that happened last fall. We wish him all the best in his recovery. I can't wait to see him tear it up on the football field. That kid is going to be a problem. You count on it. But with that being said, for the sake of this conversation, until we get actual confirmation that he is a 100% go, we will be considering his name an asterisk next to it, and we'll talk about him at a later date once more information comes and once we get a clear timetable for his return. But make no mistake, Crimson Tide fans, he is going to come with a vengeance. But outside of Trey Sanders, your feature guy, look for it to be Brian Robinson Jr. Brian Robinson Jr. is a guy who most of those outside of the Crimson Tide circles really don't know a whole lot about unless you really love college football. If you really love college football, you know Brian Robinson Jr., and you know what he's about to do. This dude is a bruiser through and through, but he's more than that. And I think the Ohio State game really highlighted some of the unbelievable ability he has. And look, he returns an average yards per carry of 5.3 yards, which is absolutely bonkers. He's got speed, he's got power, he really has everything you could want in a running back. And his ability is going to be super intriguing and is actually very interesting when you look to have a running back by committee because he can be the thunder to somebody's lightning. And I can't wait to see him on the field, but expect Brian Robinson Jr. to get the lion's share. And okay, lion's share may not be the correct word. Expect Brian Robinson Jr. to be the feature back. After him, I'm looking at Jace Mcclellan. Jace McClellan was a guy that me being from the state of Texas, I've known about for quite some time. Y'all know JoJo Earl? Well, the most dangerous duo in all of Texas high school football, not this past year, but the year before, was JoJo Earl and Jace McClellan. They tore up high school football and were unstoppable. And now they look to continue that at Alabama. And when Jace Mcclellan came in and got to do his thing, he only averaged, 10.7 yards per carry? This is a kid that is going to be insanely fun to watch, and he's somebody that I was trying to tell people about on Twitter. Anybody that would listen, Jace Mcclellan is that dude. He came in as a 4-star, but he should have been a 5-star. He was a 5-star throughout the entire process until he had an injury. And because of that, to me, he is still a 5-star no matter what, because he didn't lose that because of lack of ability or someone else just flat out passing him. He lost it because you can't penalize a kid that didn't get hurt, that only balled out. And I completely understand that, but Jace McClellan is a quasi 5-star, no doubt about it. After him is where things get really interesting. Is it Roydell Williams? Is it Keelan Robinson? Could a new guy such as Kamar Wheaton or even a Kyle Edwards break the lineup? And if I had to guess, the thing I think that Keelan Robinson offers that is just super unique is his lightning ability. He's going to look to be the change of pace back for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and because of that reason, I think he might get the third nod in this running back room. It has nothing to do with Roydell Williams and what he can't do, because Roydell Williams is a absolutely complete running back. Great vision, great power, great explosion, really talented guy. But Robinson has got uncanny quickness. For those of you that remember his 74-yard touchdown, I believe it was, he split the corner and the safety and had no business doing so. They had the angle on him, they had him dead to rights, and his explosion was just nuts. That might be impossible to keep off the field, and then when you look at the pictures he's shared where he has put on all of this muscle, he is going to be a really interesting one to watch. And though I believe Jace McClellan has probably locked up that second running back spot, this battle for running back 3 could turn into a battle for who running back 2 is. And look, make no mistake about it, the Crimson Tide is better for this. The Crimson Tide is better that they have all these guys on here. And the last name I want to get to is Kamar Wheaton, because I prefaced this whole video asking if Kamar Wheaton is a guy who could see the field. And even though I think it'll be difficult, I absolutely think the answer is yes. Look, he is somebody that is smooth. I mean, Kamar Wheaton is smooth. He is a guy where I would be both simultaneously surprised due to the depth at the position and his age if he was to crack a very serious rotation, while simultaneously being not surprised at all that he was able to do it. Let me explain what I mean when I say that, because that might be a little bit confusing. I would be surprised because Alabama is super deep, and these guys who they have on roster are super capable. I would be surprised because of his age. I would not be surprised because of his ability. Most other years, and even though the Crimson Tide always carries a loaded backfield, this backfield is a little bit different. And I'm not claiming it's the same depth as that Derrick Henry, TJ Yeldon, Kenyon Drake, Alvin Kamara backfield. But man, oh man, is it close. It is a few guys off from that level of depth in a backfield. And so with that being said, it would surprise me for Wheaton to be able to crack it while not being surprising at all. I think most Alabama Crimson Tide fans, you kind of understand what I'm saying there. And outside of that, there's so much excitement for this Alabama Crimson Tide running back position. I think that the one thing we can count on is Brian Robinson Jr. being the feature guy, because he is going to run with a lot to prove this year. He's looking to lock up a high-value NFL draft spot, and I think that he can absolutely put together a season that will easily warrant a top 3 round draft pick for Brian Robinson Jr., and I have no doubt about that. But outside of him, the Crimson Tide is going to be able to do some very interesting things because of the stylistic differences within the running back room that will allow them to do some things like they used to do with Najee Harris and Josh Jacobs, where they'd have the 2-back split and defenses would sit there and stare at it like crap. What do we do? Because you have thunder and lightning, and then you look on the outside, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, and defenses are sitting there wondering to themselves, who do we choose? And I think that the Crimson Tide could do some really cool things like that this year. I think you could do some 2-back splits. Brian Robinson, Keelan Robinson, Jace McClellan, I mean, the possibilities are really endless, and that's what makes this so exciting. But I really want to hear what y'all are thinking, and what do you think the running back room will look like, and what do you think the pecking order will be? That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one.